Would you permanently cut out your factory dashboard controls? Most people would say that's a terrible idea. But after installing this 10-inch Android screen in my Maxima, these controls are completely useless. So today I'll be removing them, filling the gaps, and trying to make this look like something that came straight from the factory. If you've been following the Maxima project, you already know I installed a 10-inch Android head unit, and the problem is all the factory radio buttons underneath it are basically useless. Instead of leaving a bunch of useless buttons in the dash, I want a much cleaner OEM style look. So the plan today is removing the factory radio controls from the trim piece, filling every opening, and hopefully making it look like the buttons were never there. And for the filler, I'm going to try a little experiment. I'm going to be using super glue and baking soda. I see it on all these videos, people using it to fix almost anything. It's cheap, it's strong, and it hardens instantly, so I said, you know what, let me give it a try. And the trim piece that I have is already broken, so if this doesn't work out, it really won't be a loss. And this is the part where we find out if my idea actually works. The first step is getting all the buttons removed without destroying the trim. And we're left with a bunch of holes that don't belong. So what I did is I taped up the front side of the trim piece, and the plan is to put some baking soda in there and then put the super glue on top of it so that it will harden against the surrounding plastic. And once that layer dries, I'll repeat the process. I'll put another layer of baking soda and then put some more super glue on top of that. And the idea is to create layers that are bonding to the surrounding plastic. For the top portion that's going to sit across, I'm going to use this piece of wood. It's actually an old chopstick. And I know some people may be thinking, why not just leave the radio controls there? And honestly, that's a fair question. Functionally, leaving them there wouldn't hurt anything, but why have them there if they don't work? Plus, in my opinion, I feel like this will clean up the interior and give it a more modern look. And once it hardens, this is what it looks like. And honestly, this is where I actually messed up as well. I should have used a different style tape. I've seen people use an aluminum style tape so that when you actually peel the tape away from the super glue, it's not stuck to whatever it is that you're working on. Additionally, I could have also added more baking soda as a base initially to the actual adhesive of the tape, so it creates that barrier so it wouldn't have gotten stuck as well. Next, it's the same process on the opposite side, filling in the low spots with super glue and baking soda. And once that's dried and done, It's everyone's favorite part, sanding. This honestly is probably the least exciting part of the project. But it's the most important part. It's going to determine if the project looks halfway decent or if it was put together with baking soda and superglue. And once I was done sanding, I used a sandable primer as a base to get all the little imperfections that I may have missed, and I started sanding again. And once that was finally done, it was time for paint. For paint, I originally went with Rust-Oleum's flat black, but I didn't like the way it was turning out, so I went with their satin black, and you just have to paint in layers. I did one layer at a time, very light coats, until I had a nice even coat across the trim piece. And to be honest, I was really impressed on how the baking soda and superglue worked. I did have my doubts, but it actually turned out pretty good. Would I use it for every repair? Probably not, but for a project like this is something I would definitely do again. So let me know what you think in the comments. Would you keep the factory controls or would you do something like this? In the next video, I'll be working on getting the Elite package installed, and somebody mentioned they would like to see more LEDs, so that's something I'm going to be working on as well. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.